We're in the middle of this COVID thing. It's terrible. More than 200,000 people dead. And yet there are many design considerations that are very important, including signage and wayfinding. And we have with us today an expert, David Bailey AIA. David's a principal with Hastings Architecture in Nashville. He's been there for more than 20 years. And David has come up with some fascinating new design concepts for improving signage under this COVID regimen that we're all struggling under. So David, just tell us briefly, what are the main goals of wayfinding and signage that in general we should be concerned about?
Thanks, Rob. Well, in general, good design, clarity of message, ease of understanding, and being able to implement that direction quickly is what you want from good wayfinding signage.
Okay, and of course we're we're seeing some really terrible stuff out there, aren't we? I mean, let's talk about some of the stuff that you've come across as you started researching what should be done. We've got 4 examples here of some pretty bad signs. This first one, handwritten sign. What's wrong with that, David?
Well, this all came about so quickly, right? We all went into a really immediate lockdown that the reaction was, okay, how quickly can I put something together that can communicate a message? We didn't really even know what the message was at the start of this, but that's all come into better focus. But because of the emergency of it, there was a reaction that led to all kinds of bad examples.
So we've got a handwritten one here.
That's right.
We've got one that's just a jumble of signs that are overwhelming here.
It would provide too much information in some of these. You're not going to stop to really take in all the content, or it is offensive. Some of it's scary, and most of the time people are just going to ignore those things. They don't want to deal with that message. Yeah,
you got one here that you supplied that is just taped, and why is that a problem? What's wrong with that?
So people have just slap things up to get the message out, but then they don't come back and pay attention to it. So they fail over time, it goes away, and then the message is gone.
All right.
And so if you're trying to reinforce that habit and methodology, then it's no longer there.
Okay. Well, let's look at some of the examples of new designs that you've come up with. So we have a group. We've got some washing hands, pretty standard one that we've been seeing around. Stay home if sick, and use the staircase. What's the deal on the use the staircase? What are you trying to encourage there?
So as we came back into our office here, and we've been at 100% occupancy since June, we were essential workers and Nashville remained open. So we were able to be back in serving our clients, but we also had to figure out how to best navigate the space. So going to one-way circulation on stairwells was important, right? So we weren't passing each other in the stairs, and we were able to maintain distancing that way.
Okay.
So that was important.
Yeah, and also keeps people out of the elevators if they're using the stairs too, I would guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we've got a 1 occupancy elevator, but stairs are better exercise, quicker and safer.
Let's look at a couple of others. We've got a couple of others here that show a conference room with a bunch of limitations on
Figures,
the number of people, number of visitors. Okay, and you've got a graphic showing people there, so that catches people.
So the messaging is part of an overall approach to how to work with this within a work environment. And as you know, putting larger groups together is not the right approach anymore. And so where we would have had a conference room that was large enough for 10, maybe it's big enough for 4 today. So we changed that messaging. We removed chairs and created the suite of signs that would allow for a whole variety of different room size occupancies. Yeah,
you've got one, the second one showing use your mask, all sorts of messages on there. Yeah, very important.
That's right. And for us, masks were required from the outset. We learned that quickly in creating job site policies and implemented that back in the end of March. And that rolled over directly into this signage approach. And, people tend to come to work if they're not feeling good, because I think they,
Yeah.
can be okay, but in these conditions, we're strong about that message and feel like that's the way for us to all be healthier.
Right. Which do you think is more important? Which has the better impact, the graphic or the words?
Well, we really looked at it as both.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clarity in the message that you need, and there's an optimism in the text and the verbiage. So, and in this kind of new condition of COVID-19, you really have to understand the message as a holistic thing. So maybe you learn the text after a while, but then the image, the graphic is there to remind you, and you quickly see that and know, oh, I wash my hands, or
yeah.
I'm not feeling good, I'm gonna stay home.
Yeah, you should be using both. We have this last set of showing an entryway, a woman going through an entryway here, and there's a sign saying entry, and then there's the floor arrows that we're seeing all over. But you've designed them to fit different different surfaces, from polished concrete to terrazzo to carpet to stair. So kind of a nice fit in terms of the look.
It's a material that allows us to apply it to a lot of different surfaces, yet maintain a good look and appearance. The signs, the arrows are intended to help us create one-way circulation, to avoid crossing,
right,
or to create 6-foot staggers and, a line for entering a room or restroom or something like that.
Right.
So they all work together.
All right, well, let's look at this last slide. This is kind of the panoply that you've come up with here. There's some really interesting ones here. You've got the stay at home, the temperature check, maximum capacity, exit only. You've got one that I didn't think worked as well. You've got one showing this motion, right. And you call it respiratory etiquette. And I just wonder if you wouldn't just say cough, sneeze into your elbow or something like that. That might be a little bit better. But there's the editor. He's always got a.
Well, it goes back to the it's just a very understandable icon.
Yeah.
Iconography, it's very clear, and the message is just optimistic, and get people to think about this the right way.
All right.
As architects designing this for other designers and design firms, thinking about it for the job site, trying to create something that applies for everybody. And we even created this in Spanish as well.
Oh, you have? Good. I was going to ask you that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, if you do any in Chicago, you have to have Polish too. So get with that too.
I need a translator, Rob.
And then there's one here that says, at the top there, it says, "What was the last thing you touched?" And is a question in the text better than just saying something like use hand sanitizer? I don't know. Well, something to think about.
To not only make you think about your hands, but that thing that you did touch, and did you sanitize that surface? Something like that. So it goes beyond just taking care of your hands. Mm-hmm. And people aren't great about washing their hands, so just reinforcing that message.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, these are great, iconic messages that may help us get through this thing. We appreciate talking to David Bailey from Hastings Architecture in Nashville about his designs for these wonderful signs. Thanks so much, David. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.